Most people spend their lives in a constant tug of war with things they were never meant to control. We walk around with invisible leashes in our hands, trying to pull people closer to how we think they should behave. We believe the driver in front of us shouldn't be so slow. We believe the colleague shouldn't be so careless. We believe the partner shouldn't have said that hurtful thing. And every time reality fails to match the version in our heads, we feel anger rising. But anger in that moment is not caused by them, it's caused by our refusal to let go of control we never truly had. Think about it. You cannot control the way someone speaks to you. You cannot control their upbringing, their values, their beliefs, or their flaws. All you can control is what you allow their actions to mean to you. When we forget that, we hand them the keys to our emotional state. We let strangers, coworkers, even family members pull us around like puppets. They say one word, and suddenly we are triggered. They roll their eyes, and our blood pressure spikes. What we're really saying in that moment is, "You own me. You own my peace." And that is the first illusion that must be broken if you want to never feel angry or bothered by anyone. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you turn cold or numb. It means you develop clarity about the boundaries of your control. You stop wasting energy trying to rewrite other people's scripts. You stop demanding that life unfold on your terms. Instead, you begin to see people as they are, not as you want them to be. The driver is not slow, they are simply moving at their pace. The colleague is not trying to ruin your day, they are working with the tools they have. The family member is not plotting to offend you, they are speaking from their own wounds, their own limitations, their own view of the world. When you detach, you stop taking the bait. You see it for what it is, and you refuse to make it about you. Philosophers have understood this for centuries. The Stoics, for example, built their entire philosophy on this principle: control what you can, accept what you cannot, and know the difference. They believed that the root of human suffering was not what happened to us, but how we judged it. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And yet, we live today in the same trap he warned about. We keep thinking, if only they changed, then I could be at peace. But peace built on someone else's behavior is no peace at all. It's a hostage negotiation with life, and you're always the one paying the ransom. This is why detachment is not weakness, it's strength. It's the strength of saying, "I refuse to give you power over my inner world." Imagine a person yelling at you. Their voice is sharp, their tone filled with judgment. If you are attached to control, you think, "They should not speak to me this way." You resist reality, and in that resistance, you ignite your own anger. But if you are detached, you recognize, this is their choice, not mine. Their voice belongs to them, not me. Suddenly the spell is broken. You may not like their behavior, but you don't give it the authority to disturb your peace. You can respond with calm instead of react with rage. That is what freedom looks like. The truth is, detachment is a form of discipline. It's not something that comes naturally. Our instincts tell us to fight back, to defend, to push against anything that feels disrespectful. But discipline means interrupting that instinct and choosing a higher response. It means practicing the art of letting go again and again until it becomes second nature. Every time you feel the heat rising inside you, you ask yourself, is this mine to control? If the answer is no, you release it. You remind yourself, this belongs to them, not me. And in that simple reminder, you protect your peace. Psychologically, anger thrives in the gap between expectation and reality. The wider that gap, the stronger the anger. Detachment closes the gap. It says, I no longer demand that reality fit my script. I accept reality as it is, and I choose how to meet it. This doesn't mean you tolerate abuse or injustice. It means you respond to it with clarity rather than emotional chaos. You don't allow the noise of another person's behavior to dictate the quality of your mind. You deal with the situation, but you do it from a place of composure rather than reactivity. And that difference changes everything. Imagine living your life with that kind of composure. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and instead of exploding, you shrug and keep driving. Someone criticizes you unfairly, and instead of spiraling into anger, you recognize it as their projection, not your truth. Someone tries to provoke you, and instead of giving them the satisfaction, you stay calm, unshaken, untouchable. That is not indifference, it's mastery. It's the mastery of yourself, which is the only mastery that matters. You see, when you detach from control, you discover a freedom most people never taste. You're no longer tossed around by every careless comment, every thoughtless action, every inconvenience. You move through the world lighter, clearer, stronger. And people begin to notice. They wonder how you stay so calm when others lose their minds. They wonder how you keep your peace when others hand theirs away so easily. And the answer is simple. You stop trying to control the uncontrollable. You chose to control only yourself. The beauty of this truth is that it applies everywhere, at work, at home, in relationships, even in traffic. There is no environment where people stop being human. And because of that, there will always be behavior that could bother you if you let it. But the moment you accept that their behavior is theirs and your peace is yours, you become untouchable. You stop living in reaction and you start living in choice. That is how you never feel angry or bothered by anyone. Not by controlling them, but by releasing them. Not by demanding they change, but by realizing you don't need them to change in order to be at peace. So the next time someone cuts you off, interrupts you, dismisses you, or criticizes you, pause and remind yourself, this belongs to them, not me. Let them carry the weight of their choices. You carry the weight of your peace. That's the difference between a life constantly disturbed and a life deeply free. And freedom, after all, is what we're really chasing. If you think about it, no one actually has the power to reach inside you and push a button that makes you angry. They can say the words, they can make the gesture, they can roll their eyes or raise their voice, but none of that guarantees your reaction. The words themselves don't carry anger. The gesture doesn't carry insult. What carries the sting is the story you attach to it. We take raw behavior and we layer it with meaning. That meaning is what determines whether we laugh it off, stay calm, or explode with rage. For example, imagine someone cuts in front of you in line. If the story in your mind is, they don't respect me, they think I'm invisible, they think they're better than me, your chest tightens, your jaw clenches. You feel insulted and angry. But if the story you choose is, maybe they're distracted, maybe they're in a rush, maybe they didn't even see me, you don't feel the same weight. The same action, someone stepping in line, produces two completely different realities depending on the meaning you attach to it. This is why reframing is so powerful. It puts you back in charge of your emotional state instead of letting strangers and circumstances dictate how you feel. Psychologically, this is called cognitive framing. Two people can live through the exact same event, but because they interpret it differently, they walk away with completely different experiences. One person feels wounded, the other feels untouched. One person sees an insult, the other sees a reflection of the other person's struggle. And here's the important truth: meaning is not discovered, it's created. You are the author of the narrative you attach to every word, every look, every gesture you encounter. And once you realize you are the author, you stop being a victim of other people's behavior. Think of it like this: people are constantly throwing pebbles into the water of your life. The ripples that form are not caused by the pebble itself, but by the way you interpret its impact. If you tell yourself the pebble is an attack, the ripples spread into anger. If you tell yourself the pebble is nothing more than a small disturbance, the ripples fade almost instantly. You cannot stop people from throwing pebbles, but you can decide whether those ripples consume your peace or barely touch the surface. Now, some people push back against this idea. They say, but if someone insults me, isn't that an insult no matter what? The truth is, no. An insult is only an insult if you decide to wear it. If someone calls you something untrue, and you know it doesn't define you, why hand over your peace for the sake of their ignorance? The weight of their words is not in their mouth, it's in your mind, and that is where you always have power. The great Viktor Frankl, who survived years in Nazi concentration camps, said it best, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. He lived through unthinkable cruelty, yet he understood the same principle. We're talking about right now. People can do things to you, but they cannot dictate the meaning you give to those things. That meaning is your domain. That meaning is your power. So how do we apply this practically? Start by catching the story you're telling yourself in the heat of the moment. When someone speaks sharply to you, pause and ask, what story am I writing right now? Maybe you're writing the story that they disrespected you, but could you also write the story that they're having a bad day? Could you write the story that they don't know how to express themselves better? Could you write the story that it has nothing to do with you at all? The more flexible you become with your narratives, the less power other people have to hijack your emotions. This doesn't mean you excuse bad behavior. It doesn't mean you let people walk all over you. Reframing is not about denial, it's about perspective. You can hold someone accountable without letting anger eat you alive. You can set boundaries without attaching a narrative that drains your energy. In fact, the calmer you remain, the clearer your boundaries become. Anger blurs your vision, reframing sharpens it. When you see behavior for what it really is, an expression of them, not a reflection of you, you can act with strength instead of reaction. Let's bring it down to a simple truth. Most of what people say and do is about them, not you. Their words come from their upbringing, their insecurities, their frustrations, their wounds. If they're rude, it's a mirror of their inner chaos. If they dismiss you, it's a mirror of their blind spots. And if they criticize you unfairly, it's usually because they're projecting something they haven't resolved within themselves. Why would you build your emotional state on the unstable foundation of someone else's struggle? The wiser choice is to reframe, to see their behavior as evidence of where they are in life, not evidence of your worth. And the fascinating thing is, once you begin reframing consistently, you discover that no one can actually bother you without your permission. You may notice disrespect, but you don't need to swallow it as your own. You may hear criticism, but you don't need to let it define your identity. You may encounter arrogance, but you don't need to see it as an attack. Instead, you see all of it as information, you observe it, you learn from it, and you decide calmly how to respond. That is the highest level of freedom. Imagine the strength of living this way. Someone insults you, and instead of spiraling, you think, that's interesting. That's about them, not me. Someone ignores you, and instead of feeling invisible, you think, that's their awareness level right now. Someone tries to provoke you, and instead of giving them power, you recognize, they're looking for a reaction, but I don't owe them one. When you train yourself to reframe, you stop playing the game other people want you to play. You stop being a puppet pulled by the strings of their behavior. You become the one who writes the script of your inner world. This is not easy work. It takes practice, discipline, and awareness. You will slip at times. You'll find yourself attaching stories of offense and hurt without realizing it. But every slip is also an opportunity to practice reframing. You catch yourself, you pause, and you rewrite the meaning. Over time, this becomes second nature. You stop being reactive and you start being deliberate. You live lighter, calmer, more grounded. And people notice, they see that you are not easily shaken. They see that you remain steady in situations that would rattle anyone else. And that steadiness commands respect, not because you demanded it, but because you embodied it. That is the paradox of reframing. By refusing to take on the weight of others' behavior, you end up being the one who carries yourself with the most strength. So here's the reflection I'll leave you with every moment. You are the author of the story you attach to the world. You can write the story of offense, or you can write the story of understanding. You can write the story of insult, or you can write the story of indifference. You can write the story that steals your peace, or the story that protects it. And the pen is always in your hand.